Important news: the night sky over the borderlands glows with an eerie light as distant echoes pulse across the horizon. Something is moving, something is shifting, and the balance of the conflict is changing once again. In the last 48 hours, reports emerged of Ukrainian forces launching a new wave of cross-border strikes aimed at Russian infrastructure, and the ripples from these operations are being felt far beyond the actual blast zones. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Conflict Front Stories channel. Please subscribe and like my videos because today we're diving deep into what's really happening behind these intense cross-border operations, how Ukraine is reshaping the battlefield, and why the sudden escalation is drawing concern from analysts around the world. From the exterior view of the conflict, the landscape is shifting dramatically. Ukraine's strategy of targeting infrastructure inside Russia is not entirely new, but the frequency, precision, and boldness of these strikes have increased noticeably. These targets include rail hubs, fuel depots, military storage sites, energy stations, and occasionally industrial zones that have logistical importance. The aim is not to harm civilians, but to disrupt the machinery that supports Russia's military capability. Each strike is part of a larger pattern designed to slow troop movements, weaken supply lines, and force Russia to redirect resources away from the front. The exterior environment shows a chessboard where every move carries long-term consequences, and Ukraine is making it clear that it intends to reach deeper than before. Inside Ukraine's command rooms, the interior viewpoint tells a different story, quieter, more focused, and built on calculations rather than emotion. The room is dim, screens glowing with satellite maps and drone feeds. Officers speak in calm voices, examining routes, weather, radar coverage, and patterns in Russian defenses. Each interior decision is shorter and sharper than the dramatic scenes outside. When a Ukrainian commander greenlights a strike, it isn't done lightly. It follows careful analysis about timing, distance, and how much the attack will disrupt Russia's operational rhythm. These interior moments of planning are precise, almost surgical, and they contrast heavily with the larger, noisier world that reacts to the results. On the Russian side, the exterior response has been defensive and loud. Officials accuse Ukraine of aggression, claiming these attacks endanger stability and violate borders. Russian media amplifies the situation, showing footage of fires or damaged buildings, making the operations seem bigger than they are. But behind the speeches, the truth is that many of the affected sites have military or logistical importance. Rail lines carry ammunition, fuel facilities supply armored vehicles, warehouses store equipment. While Russia calls these civilian targets, evidence often shows they serve dual purposes in supporting war efforts. The exterior political reactions grow louder not because the strikes are random, but because they are effective. Inside Russian administrative offices, the interior conversations are more cautious. Reports circulate about weak spots in border defenses, about drones slipping through radar, about surveillance gaps that must be fixed. Some officials express concern that Russia's northern and western regions have become vulnerable. These interior messages rarely reach the public, but they reveal a system trying to cope with unexpected pressure. Even though Russia has vast resources, protecting every inch of its territory is nearly impossible, and Ukraine has taken advantage of that vulnerability. Back on the Ukrainian side, drones play a major role. Most cross-border attacks involve unmanned aircrafts, small, affordable, and often built from commercial components. From an exterior perspective, these drones are symbols of modern, asymmetric warfare. They travel long distances, navigate around defenses, and hit high-altitude sites without risking pilot lives. This gives Ukraine the ability to project power far beyond the front lines. Drone warfare extends the battlefield into Russia's interior and forces Moscow to think about defense in ways it never had to before. It reshapes strategy and alters what frontline even means. Inside the workshops where these drones are assembled, the interior environment is humble but industrious. Engineers and technicians examine circuit boards, batteries, propellers, and GPS modules. They work carefully, making sure each drone can fly low, fast, and quietly. Some drones are adapted from civilian models, while others come from Ukrainian innovation labs that design systems specifically for military use. The interior conversations here revolve around range, payload, and how to bypass electronic jamming. These teams aren't working for attention. They're working to shift the outcome of the war in small but important steps. The exterior battlefield reactions from Russia are becoming more complex. After repeated strikes, Russia began deploying more air defense systems across border regions. Radar lines have been strengthened, and anti-drone units patrol roads and towns near Ukraine. However, the sheer scale of Russia's territory makes full protection impossible. Ukraine doesn't need to hit every target. It only needs to create enough disruption to slow down the flow of equipment to the front. The exterior map now shows a web of pressure points, each vulnerable in different ways. Inside NATO headquarters, analysts quietly observe these developments. The interior discussions revolve around escalation risk, deterrence, and how these attacks affect the larger strategic picture. Most Western officials have emphasized that Ukraine has the right to defend itself and neutralize threats across the border, especially when those Russian sites are used to launch attacks into Ukraine. But they also worry about Russia reacting unpredictably. The interior conversations balance support for Ukraine's operations with caution about unintended consequences. On the ground in Ukraine, civilians watch these developments with mixed emotions. From an exterior standpoint, many see the strikes as necessary responses to months of bombardment from across the border. They believe disrupting Russian infrastructure could reduce the number of missiles and drones fired at Ukrainian towns. For residents who have lived under threat for years, any operation that weakens the attackers feels justified. Yet there is also concern about escalation. No one wants the conflict to expand further, and every new strike brings questions about what Russia will do next. Inside Ukrainian households, the interior atmosphere varies. Some families speak anxiously about retaliation. Others express quiet pride in their military's resourcefulness. Every home reflects a different experience of the war, some dealing with loss, others with displacement, and many with uncertainty. The interior emotions are personal and real, contrasting with the large-scale geopolitical moves happening outside. As the cross-border operations increase, the international exterior response grows more pronounced. Governments release statements urging restraint or expressing concern. News outlets broadcast images of burning depots, damaged rail lines, or intercepted drones. Commentators debate whether these strikes will bring the conflict closer to resolution or push it further into escalation. The exterior global conversation becomes a swirl of predictions, opinions, and warnings. Inside think tanks and academic circles, interior analysis focuses on long-term implications. Some experts argue that attacking supply lines inside Russia could shorten the war by slowing the flow of ammunition and fuel to the front. Others worry that Russia might respond by targeting deeper inside Ukraine or expanding operations elsewhere. These quiet debates rarely make headlines, but they influence policy and shape international reactions. The exterior landscape of the border region is changing physically as well. Satellite images show scorched fields, damaged rail yards, and smoking fuel storage tanks. Electricity grids flicker as certain power nodes are temporarily disrupted. Traffic patterns change as trucks and trains reroute to avoid risk zones. These visible changes are like echoes of the conflict, reminders that war is not confined to trench lines or artillery duels. It ripples through cities, towns, and critical systems. Inside Ukrainian military vehicles, Interior moments of tension and focus unfold. Soldiers monitor radios, check maps, and adjust equipment. They are aware that every successful cross-border operation gives them a slight advantage, even if temporary. These interior moments reflect discipline, training, and determination. Many soldiers say that disrupting Russian infrastructure directly improves their chances of survival on the front line. From Russia's external perspective, the strikes are framed as provocations. The government warns that there will be consequences, even as it tries to reassure its population that defenses are strong. Russian analysts on state media speak heatedly about the need for tighter security and stronger retaliation. But outside that media bubble, many independent observers argue that Russia's enormous size makes complete defense unrealistic. The exterior optics may suggest control, but underneath the narrative, vulnerabilities remain. Inside Russian border towns, interior conversations are growing anxious. Residents report seeing more checkpoints, more patrols, more controlled zones. They speak quietly about hearing drones overhead or seeing flashes in the distance. This interior atmosphere of unease is something Russia did not expect when the conflict began. It highlights how the war has shifted from something happening far away to something creeping closer to home. Throughout all this, Ukraine's leadership maintains a consistent exterior message. These operations are self-defense. They argue that Russia has struck Ukrainian infrastructure for 2 years, power plants, bridges, energy grids, and transportation hubs, and that Ukraine has the right to neutralize the sources of those attacks. From their viewpoint, cross-border strikes are not escalation but response. They are measured actions aimed at reducing the enemy's ability to sustain aggression. Inside the Ukrainian president's office, interior meetings involve balancing military necessity with diplomatic caution. Advisors discuss which targets offer the highest military value without increasing civilian danger. They plan operations carefully to avoid actions that could isolate Ukraine from its international partners. The interior conversations here demonstrate that each strike is part of a larger strategy, not random aggression. The exterior world sees the visible effects, fire, smoke, and political reactions, but the interior world of planning, decision, making, and calculated restraint tells the deeper story. This duality defines the modern conflict. Exterior scenes show movement, noise, and consequences. Interior scenes show calculation, fear, discipline, and silent determination. As the strikes continue, a broader strategic picture emerges. Ukraine aims to create uncertainty inside Russia, forcing it to divert defenses, move resources, and rethink its frontline strategy. Russia aims to contain the damage, reassure its population, and maintain the flow of supplies to its troops. Both sides operate within limits, aware that crossing certain lines could alter the conflict dramatically. In the end, these cross-border attacks represent a shift in how modern warfare works. Borders no longer guarantee safety when drones can fly hundreds of kilometers and precision technology can reach deep into enemy territory. The battlefield expands outward, and the world watches closely as Ukraine tests the limits of what it can do and how Russia will respond. The exterior and interior worlds continue to collide, shaping the future in unpredictable ways. And as always, we will continue following every development, analyzing each move, and bringing you clear, factual breakdowns of what's happening in this rapidly evolving conflict. Thank you for watching. And if you found this explanation helpful, please subscribe and like the video so you won't miss the next update from Conflict Front Stories.